Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. I'm recording this just after the bans have gone live, where Grief has finally left the Legacy format. Now I think also Psychic Frog should have gone, but that's a discussion for another day. So what are we going to play in this new meta? Well, if people aren't going to be stripping 2 cards from your starting hand with a scam start, maybe we should be playing some kind of A+B combo deck. So I'm not doing a full-on midweek meta deck this week. Instead, I'm playing something that I really enjoy playing, and the sort of thing that becomes slightly more viable when Scam is pushed out of the meta due to Grief not existing anymore. So we are playing this really cool Mind Over Matter Show and Tell list. So rather than playing a bunch of cantrips, we've just got all the hits and they're just going to keep coming. So generally we want to just show and tell in Omniscience and then cast Atraxa or Emrakul, just do that thing and win the game. But we have this backup plan involving the One Ring, which is just a fine card that you see in Sneak and Show anyway, where they play this and then draw a bunch of cards and then eventually just wins them the game. We got fast mana to power it out, so it should be A-OK. So the idea is, instead of just drawing cards with the One Ring, we can then have Mind Over Matter. So this is an expensive enchantment, but discard a card, untap or tap target artifact, creature or land. So we draw some cards with One Ring, then we untap it by discarding a card, and then we draw it, and we can just draw an entire deck, and then that way we can go and tell in an Omniscience with all the protection from Force of Will that we could ever need, and Veil of Summer, and then we can hardcast the Emrakul, and then winning is pretty trivial from that point on. And that's pretty much the deck. We are all in on doing our powerful things. We've got Intuition to sort of grease the wheels and make sure that we can find whichever copies we need. We've got 3 copies of Mind Over Matter, so we can always find one of them with Intuition. Yeah, that's basically all we're trying to accomplish here. Just do the big scary thing. And we can either do this as early as turn 1, or we can do this whole strategy, and it just seems like a really fun deck. I played it before on the channel, and I will put a link in the description to last time I played this, and it was really good and really fun. So hopefully we can recapture some of that magic. Aside from the things, the only cantrip we are running is the Lorien Revealed, which makes sure that we can hit our land drops, which is kind of an important thing. We've got a lot of colourless mana, so I do like having this way of turning that into the coloured source we need. The 4 Veil of Summers, we're just trying to protect our thing and force it through, and sometimes that will involve actual force as well. We have 3 Otawaras in our mana base, because sometimes we're going to need to bounce some problem permanents, so you can sometimes find things like Vexing Bauble are a bit of a pain when you've got an Omniscience down, but we can kind of just get through that by just drawing our whole deck, sort of. And we don't have fetch lands or anything like that, we're just doing the old 4 of Tropical Islands and going for it. This isn't the sort of deck that wants a Surveil land because we go pretty fast, so I'm excited to give this one another go. Otherwise, we've got more protection that can also be used to protect ourselves from an opponent who's going to be combo killing us like Storm. We've got some Carpet Flowers, so when we're getting Wastelanded, we just get that extra chunk of mana in there from those sort of Psychic Frog tempo decks, which I suspect will be everywhere. We've got some Echoing Truth to bounce some scary permanents. We've got ourselves some Dismember to kill some scary permanents, and we've got some Grafdigger's Cage. Now, obviously, you know, Rescaminator is gone, but, well, not necessarily gone, but it's very different if it does exist because of no Grief. But you might still find Red-Black Reanimator, and people are going to ease off on their Graveyard Hate because of it, and I'm just like, not about that life. Let's just make sure we don't lose to these turn 1 Reanimator decks, which have been picking up steam lately. They can still just unmask themselves and do whatever they need. So that's the deck. It's a fun one. Remember to check out the previous time I played it. It was a really, really fun league, that one. All right, strap in, like and subscribe, and let's show and tell some Mind Over Matter. Okay, we've made it to the first round. What are we going to do with a hand that looks like this? You can show and tell Omniscience, Intuition for whatever we need, and just be away. That seems reasonable. Wasteland is obviously going to be a bit of a burden for us here. So we have to make a decision. Are we playing around Wasteland, or are we playing around Discard? I think I'm going to choose to play around Discard here. That could come back to bite us, but at least we don't have our combo broken up. We just need to find land, which is quite an abundant thing in our deck, because you have other mana sources as well that work, like Lotus Petal and... Alright, this is good. A Glistener Elf. Alright, our opponent is on that Infect Life over there. So am I supposed to... Okay, I was going to say, am I supposed to play around Counter Magic, but now we don't have to, which is good. We can just have it all. Our opponent's thinking about his Lotus Petal. I wonder why. Let's cast a Veil of Summer. How do you feel about that one? A Daze. Am I just shoving into this? I think we just let the Daze go. If they've got the Force, they've got the Force. Let's try Show and Tell. Let's put in Omniscience. Let's cast a free spell. Okay, so we're going to get Atraxa, Intuition, Emrakul. That doesn't really work, does it? We get Atraxa, we get Emrakul. We could just get the One Ring here, and we get an Emrakul. All of these work for us in one way or the other. There's probably an optimal thing to choose there. It feels like it's going to be a bit difficult to play this one when our opponent can't do like a Besage type thing. Alright, so these get shuffled in. Cast Atraxa for free. It's a good price to pay for it. What do we have here? A Veil of Summer is not working. So I'd like the One Ring as our artifact. The Veil of Summer, very small, isn't it? Let's make that bigger. All right, our opponents scoop in. They just want to see some more cards. Yeah. So they haven't seen the Mind Over Matter yet, which is good news, because we might be able to get them with that. So that was a turn 2 with protection. Not the worst. Our opponent can have Wastelanders, but these decks tend not to run very many these days. So things I am interested in. Flusterstorm and Dismember. Our opponent's not going to be running anything like Vexing Bauble because they have free spells of their own. So let's shrink this one a touch. It's a bit tricky to sideboard with this deck, if I'm being perfectly honest, because all the pieces are kind of clutch for what they're doing. So I think we're trimming on like a Mox and Lorien Revealed, and that gets us a couple of these cards. Is it more important for us to do our thing, or should we be stopping our opponent doing their thing? Definitely a possibility to over sideboard. I think on the draw, we want the removal, and on the play, we probably want to go into the Flusterstorms to protect. I don't know if we can get a third card here. It'd probably be a Chrome Mox if it is. Let's try something along these lines. This one is okay. Putting in an Atraxa is normally a pretty good thing to do. It's a touch slow, but we have some stable mana in case our opponent does have anything to mess with it. I'm not expecting it, but I think we can play around free. Okay, just a Brainstorm naked on turn 1. That is not a threat, so that gives us a lot more time. And that's all we're trying to do right now, is buy a little bit of time until we can get our bits and pieces underway. We don't have a blue card to go with this Force of Will, unless we're going to pitch the Atraxa, but then we won't have anything to put in with the Show and Tell. A Noble Hierarch, that's fine. That does not deal infect damage, so we don't have to worry about that one. An Omniscience, okay, that's certainly one I'm happy to see. Let's play this Tropical Island. So we can pitch the Force to the Omniscience to the Force if we want to, but I'd like to find another blue card so we can just have our absolute cake and eat it by just putting the Omniscience in for free and then Atraxa-ing and just keep going and going and going. They build off of Days, which is a little bit unexpected, but we're not really under any pressure right now. They still haven't played an Infect threat. That is a surprise to me. So we can play around Days if we wait one more turn. We may as well play around Days and have a Force backup. There's no reason for us to like fumble it by going in a bit too hard here. There's another Brainstorm. We have to see some sort of threat this turn, surely. All right, so now we have a threat in the Inkmoth Nexus. So we have an option here to hit this Ignoble Hierarch at the end step to see if we can slow our opponent down with the amount of mana they have and see if we get a reaction. I think I'm okay to do that. Our life total is not going to matter in this game. And the Dismember is not always likely to get the job done. How much interaction does our opponent have? Well, we have a lot of mana now. So we can cast this Show and Tell. Let's see how much our opponent is willing to fight for this. There is a Force of Will. Pitching a Daze. So I could just untap and shove again. Or I can Force of Will here, getting rid of our Show and Tell. But then if this one doesn't work, then we're kind of in trouble. I think this is worth going for here. I'm a little bit worried about Veil of Summer out of our opponent. 4 cards is certainly enough to kill us. Well, but then we can just Force of Will and stop them from killing us, in theory. Alright, I think we're going to let this one go and then try and get them next turn. No attacks from our opponent. We've got them scared. I suppose we shove another Show and Tell here. Do we play this out to play around potential Flusterstorm type action? I think so. We'll float some mana off of this and we'll cast this Show and Tell. A Veil of Summer. So we don't really have a good response here. Because if we counterspell this and they have a counterspell, then we're in trouble. Now this might just be a bluff to stop us doing any counters, but if they have a counter here, then obviously that's a pain. We can pay through a Flusterstorm, I think. 1 spell, 2 spell. So it'll be 2 copies, so we can pay 3 times. Whereas if we Forced of Will out, our opponent would have been able to fluster us. A Daze. Okay, feels like we're getting flustered somewhere along the lines here. There it is. Okay, so we played around as much as we could. But now our opponent doesn't have the most amount of resources, but they're just going to slowly chip us down. We just say no to all these. We can't pay for all of them. Yeah, so we carefully played around the Flusterstorm and stuff. They had 3 cards that turn, so we got a reasonable exchange off of that one Show and Tell. Alright, so they're going to fire at the Inkmoth Nexus. They're going to bash with it. So this bounces Artifact, Creature, Enchantment, or Planeswalker. So this will hit the Inkmoth Nexus next turn, but we need to not die to it this turn. And Invigorate. I don't think we hit the first Invigorate. Which is a Berserk. It is a Berserk, so we have to counterspell this. So we'll pitch the Omniscience, because we can always just put in the Atraxa and that can block relatively well. You got another thing? No. Okay, so we're going to take half our, not life total because it's just poison, but you know what I mean. We take half of our remaining existence from this Inkmoth Nexus. Chrome Mox, that's not the one we wanted. So a copy of the One Ring would really help here because our life total is not under pressure. We can just take a bunch of damage from our One Ring and draw stuff that will eventually win the game for us. Alright, they're on the slow boat to Infect Town. That's okay. We have some interaction. Force of Will isn't the worst, but if we want to play this, it's going to cost us either playing out Otawara, which actually we can't do because it's legendary. Yeah, so we just have to hold on for a turn here and hope that we don't have to Force of Will anything. The Otawara should be enough to stop our opponent, but at least we have this emergency button to press if we need. Once we get the Mind Over Matter, we can just keep tapping this down for a card a turn, which isn't ideal, but it's a thing we're allowed to do. Alright, so there's the Inkmoth Nexus coming in. We take him one. We take him one. So we can bounce this at an end step, and then they have to replay it the next turn, and then it'll be Summoning Stick for that turn. So we can delay them a lot in the near future. The Ancient Tomb is fine here. We don't run Brainstorms in our deck. This allows us to use the Force of Will. A Noble Hierarch is fine. Animate to the Nexus, sure. So we're going to take 2 and go to 9 poison here, which is pretty close to being dead. Pretty close is not the same as being dead. So we take this, and in the end step we can bounce this. They would like to berserk their creature. I would like to bounce this. Don't remember if they played a land this turn. They did not play a land, so they do get to play Nexus again. We're going to have to find something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't have any black mana right now. So if we draw another Atraxa, we can try and cast that next turn. It's the only thing we're allowed to try and do, so we'll see. Alright, there's Inkmoth Nexus. Coming in for 2. And Invigorate. Well, we have to cast a Force of Will on this. Have you got another one? Or do we survive for one more turn? We get another turn. Okay, that's exciting. Mind Over Matter, you say? That is a useful Magic the Gathering card here. Believe it or not. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we want to play around a Daze here? Playing around a Daze costs us our Lotus Petal, which is one of the things we could pitch to the Mind Over Matter. What would they have in their hand that they're not casting right now? A Daze is a pretty good shout. So let's play out this Lotus Petal. And then we'll play this one out. Then we can fire out a tap on the Inkmoth Nexus. They got another Hedge Maze in there? No, I didn't think they would. I would like to tap. Okay, you have a tapped Inkmoth Nexus. We can kind of keep them at bay for a little while, but we're going to get jabbed by this Hierarch, but that's a-okay with the situation we're in right now. Weird game. All we need is a One Ring, though, and we just get to absolutely pop off here. Another Lotus Petal is good, too. A Veil of Summer. Okay. We're probably just going to have to discard that to the Mind Over Matter. Tamiyo. We could draw a card here. I think I'll draw a card here. Oh, we drew a copy of the One Ring. That's an exciting one. No activation on the Inkmoth Nexus. Alrighty. That's another thing in the bag for our Mind Over Matter if we need it. But if we resolve this One Ring, we do just win the game here. Let's go for it. Do you have anything? Or do we get to win? They got high cast Force of Will, I think. Awkward. If we've kept that Veil of Summer, it would have worked out differently, but I was thinking maybe we want to try and counterspell this Tamiyo. So, what do we want to do here? I think we just let our opponent hit us. A Pendle Haven. We're going to animate this, so I would like to... And what we're going to discard here... The Emrakul is pretty good, but so is the Atraxa. And this will shuffle in all of these cards. I think that's worth doing. Let's not get poisoned. So we're probably going to get hit for 1 from this Tamiyo. They're going to get a clue, and they're going to be able to start drawing some additional cards, and that might go a little bit awry for us. But we are in this game a long time after our initial attempts failed. Can I find some more copies of the One Ring, please? Chrome Mox. That's not the one, is it? Okay. Just keep holding on. Let's stop ourselves getting poisoned out. So if we click yes there, it will untap this Inkmoth. So they correctly tap it for mana there. I'm going to take 1 from the Tamiyo again. They can flip the Tamiyo, which presents a different sort of problem for us. Yeah, cracking the clue. They could have hit us for the 1 here. They've missed the damage by doing this in the attack step. Like, it might not matter, but it might end up being important down the line. And it's a free damage. You may as well get your free damage in. A Blighted Agent. Okay, so we can tap them both down, but then we have nothing going on. So this is really the turn where we have to find something. City of Traitors. That is not really something, is it? Our lands don't produce mana. that can cast the Atraxa, otherwise you could like discard a card and untap one and maybe get there. So we have to stop the Blight Agent from hitting us. It's going to be tough. And we can still just draw the One Ring and just go off with Mind Over Matter, and that does work because we can draw a whole deck and then loop it with the Emrakul. We have to say no to this one. It is absolutely wild that this game is continuing to... But if we just weren't so hasty trying to find like a Force of Will off the top when we cast that Veil of Summer, we might have been able to just win this game ages ago. So maybe I was too worried about Tamiyo and thought, oh, if we're not going to draw any of our combo pieces, then the Tamiyo is just going to win the game. But we could have tried to win with that Veil of Summer. Right, this is probably it for us. Dismember. That does not do it when they have 2 infect threats or 3 infect threats. Okay, over to us. I think we want the Flusterstorms on the play rather than these Dismembers. So we'll just let it go. We could have these Carpets just to give us some more mana. That might be better than having some number of Lorien Revealeds. Probably better than Chrome Mox as well, actually, isn't it? I don't know if I want to go any lower. I suppose a Lotus Petal and a Carpet is kind of similar, isn't it? All right, let's try that. We got lots of protection. We don't really have a good way of digging. I think we can mulligan for something better here. Okay, we just need a little bit of mana to get over the hump here. And we can start doing One Ring stuff. What are we going to put away? It's probably the Omniscience. Although if we luck into a Show and Tell, the Omniscience is just great here. So maybe it's the Atraxa that goes. I think we play out the... I guess we play out the Otawara. This means we can't do a turn 2 One Ring if we draw another Ancient Tomb. But we probably don't just want to jam a One Ring. We want to play it with the Flusterstorm anyway. So it's not really slowing us down in any tangible sense. A Carpet of Flowers that we cannot cast. Understood. Opponent's cracking their fetch end step. I assume this is going to be a Hedge Maze for a little bit of bonus selection. Oh no, it's a Tropical Island. They're going to cast something. Alright, it's going to be the Brainstorm. I don't think this is where we try and fight with our Fluster. A Glistener Elf. With no follow-up land. So our opponent's hand is absolutely filled with spells. How much do I think we can actually win this game? I think we do have to just go for it here. I suspect our opponent's hand is just full of gas. It's either counter magic or it's ways of killing us. And either way, we're going to have to push our way through it. Alright, we're getting a 2 for 1 off the first one. We can draw a land, we can play the One Ring, and that buys us a turn where they can't infect us. And if we can just find a little bit more mana, then we'll be alright to just smash our opponent down. Please don't kill me, opponent. Alright, just one little poison. So our opponent's hand probably doesn't have the lethal damage in it. It probably just has a little bit of pump and then some counter magic. What am I supposed to do with this information? I guess we pass and then we intuition at end step, get Show and Tell. I'm kind of tempted to get just Tropical Island and get this Carpet down. But I think if we just go and get the Show and Tell, that's fine here. This way we can also hold up the Flusterstorm for a turn quite nicely, instead of just trying to get everything out and play right away. Alright, Glistener Elf is attacking. Something is happening. That is an Invigorate. Is this an additional Invigorate? It is. So this one will put this to 9 and that will kill us. So we have to Flusterstorm this one. So they have to pay 3 if they want this to resolve. But they could pay 2 and then daze 1. And that works. Or they could just have another Invigorate. They could have a Berserk. This also means we don't get to do our intuition. We just take a boatload of infect here. And there's another Glistener Elf. Alright. Drawing a land would be something, at least. It's not a land. Our opponent's got 2 land over there. Maybe we have to hope that they can't get everything down. Are we intuitioning for Tropical Island right now? Just give ourselves the most amount of mana for next turn. I think we have to do this. I dislike this play a great deal. But I think it's where we're at. Not the most exciting intuition ever cast. But possibly one of the intuitions that cost the most amount in terms of the cards I'm finding. Right, let's get this Carpet down. This makes 2 mana. But 2 mana is not enough here. So next turn we have the One Ring around like a daze. We just need our opponent not to have another pump spell right now. They can have a Berserk, that's fine. But they would have done that last time. Alright, they did not kill us this turn with Infect, so we have a chance. Can I find something useful here? We'll say yes to this. Add blue mana. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're not up to casting this yet. Can I have the One Ring? This doesn't get hit by a Flusterstorm, which is not instant or sorcery. I'd like very much for this to resolve, please, opponent. Okay, a Force of Will. That, unfortunately, is the game right there. Because our opponent just attacks the 2 guys. Yeah, we put up a good fight. This one felt pretty close and quite an interesting match. Our opponent just had one too many things. They had like the 3 cards in the one turn we're trying to go off. But yeah, an interesting game. Felt happy with how the deck performed more or less, even though we didn't quite get over the finish line. If we'd have drawn land on a couple of the earlier turns, we would have been A-okay. Let's go to round 2. This is a turn 1 ring. And we can play that with a Force of Will. I will take that. Alright, so probably looking at some sort of blue deck with a Scalding Tarn on the opposing side. What have you got for us, deck? A Trop. So we can go 1 turn slower and have a Veil up if we draw a blue card. Or we could just go now and hope that the Force is enough. I think I'm going to go now. So we imprint the Veil here. And we shove the One Ring. Good cards are good. Oh wow, we're just in. We didn't even have to force. That's beautiful. I will take a card from my One Ring. Otawara. Not quite where we need to be, but I don't mind having a little bit more mana available. Undercity Sewers. Oh, an Echo of Aeons. Alright, our opponent's on some combo stuff. I think I've played some of the opponent's decks on the channel in the past. Brainstorm, pretty good. So, Orcish Bowmasters might well be a thing in our opponent's deck. They might be doing like Bowmaster Wheels. Right, nothing else going on over there. So I'm going to take a little bit of damage with the One Ring. Right, let's start off by drawing some cards with the One Ring. That's not very exciting, is it? Okay, I think we probably just play out the Trop here. I'm just trying to work out if it's worth keeping our City of Traitors around or not. So we can still combo next turn if we draw the right thing anyway. I think I'm just going to play this Trop out to get some mana ahead of us. Make our opponent think about blue spells. And then we have Force of Will ready to go. Because we didn't have any blue mana, we couldn't just hold up the intuition, so if our opponent doesn't make us use it, we can just go for it. Whereas next turn we will be able to do that. The Veil of Summer being in the Chrome Mox is a bit awkward on that front. A Dark Ritual. Nothing good has ever come from a Dark Ritual. A second Dark Ritual. A Chrome Mox. I think we're going to try and hit the payoff rather than trying to hit the mana. So if we had gone for that first Dark Ritual, we would have lost here. Burning Wish. Okay, so looking at the Epic Storm would be my guess here. Beseech the Mirror. This is not a thing that I want to resolve. So our opponent get to cast a Burning Wish. They have Burning Wish mana floating. No. Okay, One Ring, we need you to actually do something here. Okay, that's something. We got this Mind Over Matter. We just need the mana now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 piece of fast mana is all we require. Actually, no, because the Chrome Mox isn't blue mana. So we can't play the Mind Over Matter yet. But we could cast a Show and Tell here. Oh wow, our opponent's just scooping it up. We are not winning. Well, we might be winning this game. We don't know what our opponent's up to over there. But I don't feel great about this. A few more cards. The Show and Tell was coming up for the next turn. And then we just get to combo off. So we have to survive 1 more turn. Alright, so our opponent wants to play stuff in their graveyard. In terms of the Echo of Aeons. I don't know how deep into Echo of Aeons are they. Because they could be like full-on epic gamble. Let's just smash as many of these as we can. Or they might be doing something a bit different. So we're going to want these cards. For sure. Veil of Summer is useful to stop your opponent making you discard things. But I think that's probably not what this game is about. So this gets us 3 Flusters and 1 Cage. Would I like a second Cage and how would I fit it in? I suppose we could trim a Mox for a Cage. And then if we see lots of like epic gamble style stuff, then we can go more in on these Grafdigger's Cage. But I don't mind having a couple. You can also stop them being able to tendrils you with the Veil of Summer, which sometimes comes up. But the Flusterstorm is just a better card, and we're kind of trading like for like in some ways. We're not having to force through our own thing, which is what the Veil is good for. We're kind of the control defensive side of the matchup. So you want the more defensive tools. Yeah. Works eventually, doesn't it? If we draw a land on turn 2, we can kind of get there. This stops them doing Echo of Aeons, which is okay. Stops them doing Gaia's Will. I'll take this. I'm not in love with this hand, but I think it is an acceptable level of quality. If they just turn 1 bop us, then so be it. But I don't think they will just try and turn 1 us because they know we're a blue deck with Force of Wills. Right, so we've got 2 artifacts in play so far. There's a Lion's Eye Diamond. There's another Lion's Eye Diamond. I'm going to see a Dark Ritual. Okay. So this is like a Beseech the Mirror. I'm going to crack the Lion's Eye Diamond. Nope, they're not going to crack the Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay. So they might be just doing Beseech into Beseech. Okay, they're doing a guy's Will line here. So they've got Storm 7. This is 8, 9, 10. So they have Lethal Tendrils kill here. Because they crack this. Well, they didn't have to crack this, right? They're just going to get the Tendrils and point in our face. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. I like how we've sideboarded here. I think we just go in again. There is an argument to having the Chrome Mox so that we can be faster. But I'm not really sure that that's what this game is about. I think I will have another cage, though. Just stop the easiest lines our opponent has. Fluster is good. We can turn to Intuition as well. We could play Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, so that we can cast Intuition on turn 1 if our opponent doesn't try to go off. Is that better? It might be. It'll cost us our Lotus Petal. Well, what are we using the Lotus Petal for? I think that's fine. This gives us more lines to try and get the game over with. So we can try and Atraxa next turn. Right, there is a Mox Opal. So we can Intuition right now. Alright, our opponent is playing something in the second main phase. Okay, so this means that Veil of Summer is on. Galvanic Relay. I will allow this Storm trigger. And then I believe we are supposed to just Flusterstorm this all the way down. Is that true? Yeah, I think that's... So we can always Intuition for a Force of Will if we have to. Okay, a Veil of Summer from the opponent. That's pretty solid. It doesn't really matter what the targets are because our opponent doesn't care about their spells because they can't be countered. So let's see what the Galvanic Relay finds them. It's only a Galvanic Relay for 4. That's a pretty good 4, isn't it? Wowzers trousers indeed. Alright, deck. We did not draw the thing we immediately needed to go off there. So we might be in Find Force of Will, their thing. Now this Vexing Bauble is certainly a bit of a pain. Let's go put in Catacombs. They're cracking the Catacombs. Is this going to be a Surveil land or is it just going to be some raw mana? I imagine it's raw mana at this stage. There it is. So they can cast the Beseech the Mirror. If they have another Veil of Summer, we're just kind of cooked here. Okay, I'm going to let this one resolve and I'm going to count the spell that comes out of it. Or at least attempt to. Because our opponent doesn't know that this isn't resolving yet. Song of Creation. Here's the last card in your hand. I think we do have to counter this Song of Creation, which is really frustrating. So if we get Force of Wills here, we counter the Song of Creation, then we're left with nothing. What does our opponent have? They have one card in hand and these cards. So they can play the Lion's Eye Diamond out here, and then they can Beseech the Mirror. I think we're just stone cold dead here. Our opponent is comboing much harder than we are. Because what happens here is, we counterspell the Song of Creation. I guess we don't counterspell the Song of Creation. We have to let them draw the cards, and then counter the Beseech, because this is deterministic, whereas the Song isn't. Ugh, I hate that so much. Right, so it was a Besaiger in hand. Yep, so this is where it all goes horrible for us, potentially. They play out the Vexing Bauble. Yep. And now we just don't get to do anything. Maybe we're supposed to hit that Lion's Eye Diamond. I think we're just absolutely stone cold here. The Beseech doesn't do anything on its own because of the Vexing Bauble. So as soon as they crack the Vexing Bauble to turn on the Beseech, it turns on our Force. But they should just be able to work their way through here because they're going to be drawing a million cards. Do I want to continue this game? That is a question. Our opponent has got 8 cards in hand, 3 floating, and an LED. That doesn't seem like a game we're going to be winning. But they could have just a lot of zeros. They can cast them into the Bauble. They get countered still. But they get to draw the card. Yeah, so that's just the game quite clearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's no way we can do anything if they were to crack the Bauble. Yeah, we got bested there. Our opponent having the Veil of Summer was really awkward for us, but, you know, they have in their deck for a reason. All right, let's go to round 3. We have no lands for our hand for round 3, so this is going right back into the deck. Not a big fan of this one either, so we're going to have to mulligan. Like, our deck's got lots of payoffs, so we should be mulligan. Oh, jeez. I guess we're going right into the doldrums here of 4 cards. Not a bad selection of 4 cards to have. I guess we keep. The One Ring is clearly the thing we're keeping here, as well as our mana sources. So these 3 are a given. The 4th card is a little trickier. I think it's... We're not keeping these Mind Over Matters. I think we keep the Show and Tell here, rather than the Chrome Mox. So at least we can lead off on a basic, so Wasteland doesn't just end us. Alright, so we're going to struggle in this game, but we can certainly win it still. Okay, blue mana means it might be more difficult to resolve our game-winning spell. Our opponent's certainly going to be willing to force a will pretty much anything we put on a stack because we're so far behind resource-wise. Alright, they pondered. They kept. They drew a card. Okay. We've got some show and tells. We can show and tell in a 1 ring, but that could be like absolutely disastrous for us if our opponent has something really spooky they put in. Bristly Bill. Yeah, that can put in some scary things. So we're probably looking at some sort of like Nadu shell. Okay, now show and telling in an Emrakul is a very different kettle of fish, and I'm happy to do that because that does just win us the game, usually at least. So we've got here blue and a green, Living Wish. Yeah, so they're playing the build that I played on my channel a little while ago that won a challenge. Yeah, so there's a Nadu in our opponent's hand, but they got a land this turn. They do. So Bristly Bill is getting bristlier. All right, 3 points of damage to the dome. They didn't play a Nomad, so they might not have the combo. Well, we're going to do the thing that we have. This is a little bit sketchy because our opponent can put in a Nadu, but it is what it is. A Force of Will. Pitching Ure. Not pitching the Nadu. It's a shame. Okay, that means they don't have the combo because you might just be able to get through a lot of show and tell stuff if you have a Nadu combo. Alright, so now they're going to be able to get 2 draws here because of the Bristly Bill. I assume all the counters this turn are going on the Bristly Bill so that they can get bigger damage attack in. I think that given the bannings, the best at least one of the best non-psychic frog things you can do is the Nadu combos. This Living Wish build that our opponent's on felt very good when I played it. Green Sun Zenith X equals 1. We can see all the things that they've been putting in their hand as well. So we know they got a Force of Will and another Nadu chilling. Alright, so they got Safekeepers, so they can start ripping through some more cards. We do have an infinite combo, so we can win this game. So we can infinite draw our entire deck at some point, and then we can put an Emrakul into play. But we're going to have to resolve some spells in order to do this. Now, the real question is it worth the time, if you lovely people out there, to watch me play through this? And I think the answer to that is probably no. Alright, so Grafdigger's Cage is good against Green Sun Zenith, but not much beside that. Dismembers are probably where I'm looking at here. And then we're probably looking at trimming a little bit here. And then it gets trickier where we trim for the third one. I guess we can trim 1 Omniscience because we're probably just going to look for it with the intuition a lot of the time anyway. Let's try this. Well, we could bring in the Flusterstorms here, but our opponent's deck, when I played it, didn't really have access to a lot of counter magics. It's got all this like green creature tutoring stuff going on. It's a slow one, but it's got some interaction. I can live with this. We just need to find some land. Our opponent's deck, when I played their version, I don't believe it had 1 wasteland in the sideboard that you could Living Wish for. So I think I'm okay with keeping this one. No turn 1 play, that's good news. The 1 ring. That's not a bad one to have access to. Hedge Maze from the other side. So part of the interesting thing as well about this Nadu deck that our opponent's playing is it has a bunch of blue mana in it. So people have to be wary of counter spells even though it's not really running them. And because the build isn't 100% settled yet, it means that you get a lot of value just being a blue deck. Still no play from our opponent. An Otawara. Right, we're going to go for an intuition in our opponent's end step. Unless we have to do something. Now, the way our opponent's not tapping their mana is a little bit suspicious to me. So we can go and get a Force of Will to make sure that we get to do our thing. And Nadu. Not a big lover of that. Right, let's intuition. Do I think our opponent has Force of Wills in their deck or not? If I'm worried about Force of Will, then I take Force of Wills of our very own, and then we show and tell, we put in the Atraxa. That's probably the correct way to play this game. Veil of Summer. Maybe we could have taken those out if we're not expecting our opponent to have much counter magic. What am I doing? We didn't draw a blue card to go with this Force of Will. That's not actually very good then, is it? Alright. We've got the intuition, I suppose. I'd rather not pitch this, but if we have to, we have to. Force of Negation. Let's say no to that with this Force of Will that we found. Have an Atraxa. I'm going to put Nomads in. Okay. We've got a bunch of stuff here. There is 1 artifact, so we'll take that. There is some options for the lands. There is some options for the instants. I think I would like a Dismember, even though we already have one. What land would I like best here? It's probably just a Trop. It's not the most exciting Atraxa I've ever seen, if I'm being perfectly honest. Right, let's play this out. Play this out. Let's try and kill... Actually, do we have to kill the Nadu? We can kill it in response, can't we? If they try and do anything to it. We don't need to give them a free card just yet. They might not have the other half or something to go with it. So we might be able to just sit it. Now, we could just get plowed and they can crash through. And then we're going to be on one ring, which will buy us a little bit of time. But one ring plus Dismember is a little awkward for our life total. But you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Not a big fan of this Living Wish. So it's probably going to go and get Nomads. And then in response to the Nomads, we have to... Oh, it's a Caracas. That's not so bad. Again, I'm not going to dismember this until we have to. We don't want our opponent drawing additional cards. There's quite clearly a Force of Negation potentially being held up over there. Let's jam this one ring and see what happens. We can fire off a Veil if we need to. Right, we're just in. I like that a lot. Let's have some more cards. An Ancient Tomb. Okay, so we can Mind Over Matter combo next turn. We just need to get there. I suspect that our Atraxa is getting bounced by this Caracas. The other option they had is to block with the Nadu and then bounce the Nadu. That way they don't take damage, we don't gain life, and they get a trigger off the Nadu, but then they have to recast it. So it's not entirely free if they do that. We'll play this out so we can Dismember. We have the blue mana available, so we can just combo out with Mind Over Matter. And we can cast Mind Over Matter with the Veil of Summer up. And then the world is very much our oyster at that point. And who is the nasty infinite combo deck now? Or basically infinite. Nadu is... It's not infinite until it is infinite, if that makes sense. A Living Wish. So this is presumably going to be the Nomads. There it is. So I'm going to hurt myself in a big way here. Let's say no to Nadus in my area. They can bounce this with Caracas. They drew a Force of Will off that. Okay. They're going to bounce their Nadu. So we are okay on this one. It gets a little bit dicey. We have to get through this one Force of Will. That's not the hardest thing to do. This Veil already in our hand. I'm glad we kept the Veils in now. Let's draw some more cards. Some Chrome Moxes. Alright, I'm going to play a Chrome Mox out and I'm going to imprint an Atraxa. And then I'm going to cast this Mind Over Matter. Can I have my beautiful 6 mana and jump, please? Alright, they're pitching the Nadu. I would like to Veil of Summer that, please. Oh, wow, we're in. Alright, now we get to do the stuff. Let's untap the One Ring, pitching this Chrome Mox. Let's draw some cards. Let's untap this. Yeah, we're living the dream now. Let's untap this. We can pitch whatever we want at this point. We're going to keep going until we find Omniscience. There it is. So untap this. We'll pick one of these. Then we can go untap our Ancient Tomb. We can pitch anything we want. It doesn't matter here. And we can cast Show and Tell. Put in the Omniscience. And we continue drawing cards. Let's cast this for free. There's an Emrakul. And it doesn't really matter about the other cards. Alright, our opponents conceded because they've seen we're about to cast Emrakul and just go to town. Alright, the dream. Let's see if we can live it again. So I think I like how I've sideboarded here. We want the extra removal. We still want the stuff to protect ourselves. I don't think this is about Flusterstorm. I think the Veil of Summer is just better than Flusterstorm here. So let's just go in again. This hand makes an attempt on turn 2, so I think this is reasonable. The Nadu combo is strong, but it's not as fast as what we're doing. So we have a chance to go underneath it. If we can draw the right cards, we can do that with Force Backup. Okay, so our opponent is getting a Dried Arbor on turn 1. So they are accelerating out, getting that additional speed. A Dismember. I don't think we have to fire that off just yet. Our opponent has like key pieces that we want to try and take apart. Mr. Rainforest, we're going to see a Nadu. It's a Fairy Time Raveler. Big lover of that one. I don't really want to Force of Will either. Alright, I'm going to hit our opponent's Dried Arbor and try and some mana out from underneath them. So our Force of Will is pretty dead here. I didn't really want to pitch Atraxa or Show and Tell to try and deal with the Teferi. That didn't feel like a great use of my resources. They've only got 3 cards in hand though, so if we do fire the Show and Tell, it might just stick. Another Force of Will. Lovely. I don't believe our opponent runs Days. I think we go with this, and then if this doesn't work, we try and refuel with the One Ring. Can I have an Atraxa? I can have an Atraxa. What is our opponent going to put in? A Nadu? Nothing. Ooh. Okay, I would like this other Show and Tell. I think artifact-wise, I'm kind of into this Chrome Mox, given we have these Force of Wills I'm not in love with right now. And the only creature there is an Atraxa, so that's fine. And what I like, a Force of Will or an Intuition? It's probably an Intuition here. Let's just play this one out. This is pretty bad into the Teferi, actually. Thinking about it. But if they bounce this, they're not bouncing the Atraxa. I don't like this play very much. Alright. So this costs 1 less. So we don't have the mana to bounce the Teferi. Alright, so they're not bouncing our Chrome Mox. I can live with that. But we got a pretty tasty reload there. Our opponent didn't counterspell the first show and tell, which means the chance of them having a counterspell seem quite low. And we can just go again next turn. They have seen 2 additional cards, so it is possible they've drawn either a blue card to go with their... Alright, the Living Wish here. So if they get a blue card here, it might be a signal that they have a Force of Will and they're trying to find a blue card. Or it might just be they want to get the cool combo thing that lets them win the game. Nadu Winged Wisdom, yeah, so we don't get the most amount of information on that one. What is the plan here? Another Intuition. Are we just shoving this show and tell? That does let them have the Nadu. Straight up. I think that's okay though. Yep, so there's the Nadu. What do we have here? More show and tells. An Ancient Tomb, that is handy. I'll take one of those. We've got show and tell, and then we get one of these other ones. So it's probably the Intuition again. We could just have a Veil of Summer and use that to protect ourselves. Is that better than Intuition? We already have 2 Intuitions. Alright, let's say done. So if we play this out, we can Otawara our opponent's Nadu out of play. We will have to go to clean up here, but this Force of Will not really doing much for us. The next turn we can start doing One Ring stuff. Or if we do get out from underneath this Teferi though. Okay, let's get rid of an Intuition. That way at least if we get out from underneath this we have a Force of Will to protect what we're doing. A Living Wish. Sure. So they're going to get a Nomads here. They're going to play the Nomads and I'm going to bounce the Nadu in response. Not a play I'm particularly excited about, but it does buy us another turn before our opponent gets the combo us off. I drew a Ponder. Get out of here, Nadu. Problem is, if we now cast a show and tell, our opponent gets to put the Nadu in and just immediately draw 6 cards. And as you can imagine, that's not where I want our opponent to be. So, what next? Probably the One Ring. If we can kill the Teferi, that turns on our Force of Will to stop the Nadu, and we can just sit behind the One Ring until we find the things we need to win. Quite an intricate game, this one. Yeah, our opponent went for trying to just do the Nadu thing. They weren't expecting the Otawara. Let's go to attacks. Let's just say no to Teferi. Turn on our useful spells again. Alright, that's pretty big news for us. So now it's... We don't get to cast this with Veil backup. We do get to cast it with Force of Will backup. We know 2 of our opponent's cards. Alright, we're just in. I'd very much like to find another land here. We did not find another land. We did find a pretty big creature though. Okay. So here comes an unencounterable Nadu. Not a big fan of this. Our opponent can make a bunch of stuff and draw a bunch of cards. This game is probably over, even though we've done a lot of pretty broken stuff on our side of the board. This is how Nadu works, unfortunately. The hope here is that we can counter the thing that they need to continue their chain. So if they play the Bristly Bill, we counter the Bristly Bill, they don't get to continue doing it. Delighted Halfling is awkward. Alright, Tropical Islands, they get to cast a Delighted Halfling and the Bristly Bill. That is unfortunate. How are we supposed to get out of this one? We need our opponent to brick a little bit. Not the easiest thing. They got a Hierarch as well as... Yikes. Okay. They definitely can't kill us this turn though, so we might still be able to string together a win, so we have to let our opponent click through it. Because we have our own way of doing infinite stuff. Delighted Halfling. This is where we point our Force of Will. And it's probably the Atraxa that goes. So we have the chance of... Right, we've got to brainstorm. The reason we're doing this is so we have the chance to get the Omniscience in. So if we draw a land, if we draw like a soul land, we can go Intuition for Omniscience, Show and Tell, put Omniscience in, cast Emrakul, and then our opponent, they can draw all the cards they want, but we're going to be able to shred through their board. Alright, have we stopped them comboing for a while? I don't know if I don't think they've targeted the Noble Hierarch yet. I might be wrong on that one. There's been a lot of triggers on the stack. Now they get to do this in our turn as well, so we have to navigate through a lot of stuff that our opponent can have. They're going to clean up. Bristly Bill and Delighted Halfling went away. Okay. Yep, so our opponent's doing this whole drawing all the things, being a pain, that sort of jam. We could try and fire off Veil of Summer, but then our opponent gets to just draw more cards in response. And yeah, this whole thing doesn't really feel okay to me. I know it just got banned in Modern. There's certainly an argument for getting banned in Legacy down the line, but I think it's worth seeing how it settles out because obviously Legacy is a much higher power format, so it can accommodate this sort of stuff. But it does feel pretty good. Now, when I played the Living Wish deck, it felt very strong, which is not something I've ever said about a Living Wish deck before. They haven't found any counter magic yet. Alright, they've found some counter magic. Another problem with this Naidu deck, in my opinion, is that it's not a particularly enjoyable play experience where you're putting all the triggers on and everything. It's just a bit of a mess. So I can understand why there's a lot of objections to it. But we'll see if it stands the test of Legacy strength. Maybe we'll go the way of Sensory Divining Top, where it's just a bit too cumbersome. People not wanting to play through the whole tournament with people doing this sort of time. But we'll see. Format is fresh again, even though it's just one card banned. I imagine the sort of Psychic Fog tempo decks have a pretty good shot at keeping these sorts of decks in their lane. Okay. I guess first things first, let's tap the One Ring. I like a Lotus Petal. I like an Ancient Tomb. If I cast Show and Tell here and put in the Mind Over Matter, we do win the game eventually. So I guess that's what we're going to do. We have 2 Veil of Summers to back this up. Force Pitching Ponder. Let's cast a Veil of Summer. Opponent's casting a Brainstorm. We could Veil over the top of this, but I don't think we have to. We'd rather get the cards out of our opponent's hand. If we don't have to use this Veil of Summer, we can use it on our next turn. But if this resolves, we get to draw our entire deck and generate infinite mana and cast Emrakul as many times as we want, basically. Which I believe should be enough to win the game. The way that it can go wrong for us is if we draw, if the Emrakul's like the last card. But there should be a way of going over the top. They can play a new Nadu, and then they get to do the whole thing again. But I'm not sure how that interacts with us when we have Hexproof and all of our spells are uncounterable. Yep, they've gone for a new Nadu. Okay, so I'll untap this, pitching Intuition. Right, so our opponent's going to go through this rigmarole again. I wonder if they've got Boseiju in their deck they're digging for. This does go into play there, right? If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Yes, they can't dig for a Boseiju, but they could dig towards some cantrips to find a Boseiju. But we can also go over the top with our Mind Over Matter again. Just instant speed, silly trigger town. That's where we're living. Yeah, my opponent's got a lot of Force of Wills, but they're not going to do them any good this turn. Right, our opponent's still clicking through a bunch of stuff. Loads of forces over there. A Force of Vigor. Okay, I would like to untap this One Ring. And I'll pitch this Intuition. And I will draw my whole deck. What a ridiculous looking stack we have here. Right, our opponent's got something else going on. So they were digging to Force of Vigor rather than Boseiju. A Brainstorm. Sure. We have plenty of cards to pitch, so we can definitely go over the top of whatever our opponent's doing here. Let's draw some more cards. Let's untap it and draw some more cards. How many cards we got left in our library? A bunch. Okay. We just need to actually click through it in time, is all. Where is our Emrakul? Let's shuffle that in now. Draw 8 cards here. Draw 9 cards here. And then we can discard. Have we got an Emrakul actually? We've just got a whole deck in our hand, really. Do we really not have the Emrakul? Fine. So we will untap this by discarding this. We'll untap this, discarding this. And untap this, discarding a land. And then we can just generate some mana here. This is quite a lot of rigmarole to click through because of our opponent making us do it all through the Force of Vigor. But here we are. We've still got enough time to do this. So we can just keep playing more copies of it. Untap this. Which one of these? Oh, I forgot to actually tap it for mana first then. Trying to click through quite quickly and making it slower for myself. Okay, we'll let this Force of Vigor resolve now. Where is our Show and Tell here? We don't want to tap this One Ring in response. So we'll cast this uncounterable spell. Where is our Omniscience? There it is. My hand has too many things in it. Modo is struggling to keep up with the amount of wonderful resources I have available. Alright, so we'll cast this. We will cast this. Just get all this stuff out of our hand. I'd like to Force of Will our Omniscience. Sorry, Force of Vigor. We've got another one, so this is okay. Where is our Show and Tell? Let's cast this one. Alright, they're doing some more stuff. This is an absolute farce of a game. We should have fired off all our Dismembers on their creatures. Now I have to sit through this again. Alright, some more card draw over there. We will need to find the Emrakul at some point. We have ways of doing this. Let's play this for free. Keep this one. Get the protection. We'll draw a card. Is it the Emrakul? It is the Emrakul. We'll cast the Emrakul for free. We have one card left in our library. So maybe we're supposed to shuffle this in first. Our opponent's on 15. We can dismember away the guy. That was an absolute fast game. We did manage to grind our way through it in the end. One was his trousers. Alright, that is 3 games in the book. Let's go to round 4. Alright, round 4. Our hand does not have any mana. Well, it has a Lotus Petal. That doesn't count. I think we can probably work out how to win this one, can't we? I don't mind a turn 1 kill if we can dodge our opponent's bits and pieces. We're 100% sending this as well. Can I have an Omniscience, please? Would very much like an Omniscience. Let's see if our opponent puts anything in. That gives us information about what they're playing. A Vexing Bauble. Ah! Oh, unbelievable. Okay, so if we cast anything into this for free, it's countered because of the Vexing Bauble. That's so frustrating. Crystal Vein. Voltaic Key. Yep. The One Ring. So we can cast this Intuition. What are we getting? We get Emrakul, 2 Intuitions. That doesn't really get us anywhere, does it? Alright, I guess we have to pass here. So at end step we can go and get a Veil of Summer. And then on our turn we cast the Veil. Then everything we cast is uncounterable. And that works. Bit of a farce. But we've been having a few games that are a bit farcical so far today. Grim Monolith, yep. Manifold Key, yep. Untapping the Grim Monolith. We've seen this before. It's going to be a Karn or a One Ring. Just untapping the Monolith. More mana. Karn, the Great Creator. That is unfortunately very good against what we're trying to accomplish here. That Vexing Bauble absolutely ruined us. A Liquid Metal Coating. Okay. Alright. So we take the Emrakul, because they just let us have it and we win the game. And it's probably just 2 Veils. I don't think we can take the Otawara here. Maybe we take the Otawara. Any land gives us... We take 2 Otawaras. Any land gives us the ability to bounce the Voltaic Key and the Vexing Bauble and just go. Alright. Let's see which one of these they would like me to have. Because Emrakul has can't be countered written on it, so we don't care about the bauble. So our opponent almost certainly just going to give us an Otawara. So they coating our land straight away, yep. They start to strip us of things next turn. Oh, Lotus Petal, that's a useless thing. We can't cast that into the bauble anyway. I can't believe we got beaten by just Vexing Bauble. We had the turn 1. We had it all sewn up. Now they're just going to Karn and grind away through our permanents. And we can't deal with this silly Vexing Bauble. An incredibly frustrating game. Alright, Mystic Forge. How do we get out of this one? I guess we draw Show and Tell. That doesn't do it either. I guess we could just draw Emrakul at some point and just hard cast the Emrakul or soft cast the Emrakul. Goodbye land. Another Lotus Petal. That's not the one, is it? Okay, so we need to draw the Emrakul basically. That's how we win this one. Or we draw a green source and a Veil of Summer before our opponent kills us with this Karn. Combo deck's been able to run Vexing Bauble feels very unfair. Glaring Frustrator. Okay, so you probably don't have a lot of time to try and win this one now. Alright, our opponent is doing some stuff. So as they do all these bits and pieces, they grind our life total down with the Fleshraker. So they can get mana back off of the Fleshraker as well. But now they're on no cards. So whether or not they get to keep going depends entirely on the top of their library. Kozilek's Command. Okay, that's pretty darn good. This is going to ping us for a bunch. This should be deterministic at this point. I think I'm just going to concede instead of having to sit through it. Alright. That was an incredibly horrible thing that happened to us right there. Okay. So I think we want these Echoing Truths. The Veil of Summer is good against the Vexing Bauble, so we do need to keep these in, as weird as that is. Which means we're probably trimming some stuff that's bad against Karn. I've been trimming these sorts of things a lot. I'm not sure if I entirely like that, but I think that's the situation we're in. There is an argument to bring Dismember to kill the Glaring Fleshraker, but I don't think we're fighting on that axis. Is that better than having Force of Wills in? I don't think so. Okay. This does not have access to what we really need. This is a turn 3 One Ring. I don't think that's good enough. This is a turn 1 Atraxa. I'll take that. I think I get rid of the Mind Over Matter here. At least Atraxa can pressure what our opponent's doing. Okay, let's stumble into some other horrible thing. Aha, Vexing Bauble no good against my Atraxa though. So we'll take one of these Tropical Islands. Enchantment-wise, I will take the Omniscience. I will take the Show and Tell. Did I not take the Vexing? Oh, okay. I was meant to take the Veil of Summer as well. But I obviously didn't click on it. So we can use this Veil to play through once we... So we can Show and Tell in an Omniscience. And then turn after we can Veil in and then cast whatever. But we need to find something worth casting for free first. Now we can just hard cast a One Ring for as good as that will be until the Karn comes down. A Voltaic Key. Maybe the Atraxa can go all the way here. So there's an argument to not actually Show and Telling here. Because if we Show and Tell now, our opponent gets another permanent into play. And that could be like a big deal for them. So I think we just hold and just try and beat them down with this Atraxa. Maybe they have to crack this Vexing Bauble at some point. Basalt Monolith. We don't get to counterspell anything. Actually, that's not true. We can cast Veil of Summer, and then we can cast the Force of Will. So we do have that line available to us. Okay, so I'm going to cast this Veil of Summer. I'm going to cast this, pitching... I guess it's the Omniscience here. Another Vexing Bauble. You got it. I will be attacking with my Atraxa. One more attack step is all we need. Opponent's got one card in hand. It's got to be pretty good here. They have one more Ancient Tomb activation left as well. Soon if they do have something, they might struggle to get out from underneath their own Ensnaring Bridge. Right, and tapping the Basalt Monolith. A Mystic Forge. Alright. We're riffing off the top. What have you got? I didn't like the top one. Grim Monolith. What have they found here? A key. Okay, where does that get them here? Nowhere. Alright. That was acceptable. I will take acceptability. This is creature card, so I can stop them casting the Glaring Fleshraker off the top of the library. That's all it does, and I don't think that's worth it. Let's just jam in again and try and keep a hand that does some things. This does not do anything. Let's mulligan. So we turn 1 cast Intuition. Turn 2 cast Show and Tell, putting in Atraxa or Omniscience. Turn 2 is probably okay here. I think we just bin off the extra Ancient Tomb. Now, our opponent can clock us, and the Chrome Mox is a little bit sketchy given our opponent's Karns and things. Vexing Bauble, okay. So our opponent probably kept their hand off the back of this Vexing Bauble. I would at least hope. That does make our Chrome Mox very poor, though, which was certainly one of the fears I had. Karn, yep, that also makes our Chrome Mox very bad. What are they going to find? An Ensnaring Bridge. That is a good one. Not that it matters, because all of our artifact mana is dead underneath this Bauble and Karn. Yeah, this deck feels like a real monster for us to play against. They shut down our fast mana, they shut down our ring combo, they shut down our Omniscience. It's a lot. And they are just not cold to some big monsters sometimes, because they can just get to the bridge. So this time they probably get something like the One Ring or Mystic Forge, something that they can then start. Alright, no, they're just going to Liquid Metal Coating us out of this game. Yeah, I don't want to play this one anymore. Let's just go to the final round. Alright, so unfortunately we are 1 and 3, but we've been splitting all the games all the way down, so we've been getting a lot of action for your money there. Alright, let's go into the final one and see if we can put 2-3 on the board. Alright, our opener requires one more piece of mana, and then we can Show and Tell in an Atraxa, and that's pretty good. So I will keep this one. It does feel a bit scary to just sort of be, like, sat here without any protection. I do have the Veil, but we're going to need some more mana before we get to use that. Yikes. Okay, so I guess the Show and Tell is probably heading to the bin. Could be the Lotus Petal, though, if they're feeling spicy over there. I have a feeling our opponent might be playing just the blue-black Rescaminator, but with Thoughtseize instead of Grief. Oh, I've taken Atraxa. Okay, so our Atraxa is getting reanimated next turn. Great. Thanks. You and permanents you control. Not cards in my graveyard, unfortunately. Okay. We're going to have a bad time. I feel it. I feel the reanimate coming. Or it could be an animate dead. Either way, I'm not enjoying this. Little value brainstorm first. Why not? Really? You're not reanimating me. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take this trop. Another show and tell. Is that what I want here? Am I just show and telling in the One Ring? It does take a decent chunk of our mana, but I feel so under the gun here because of our opponent's Atraxa just lingering. If they can reanimate this, we're just going to be getting toasted. Alright, I think we have to go for it here. If this doesn't resolve, we have another one. We just need another mana source. Ooh, okay, I'll have the One Ring, please. Oh, no! My own petard, it has hoisted me. It's hoisted me greatly. No, I can't scramble out of it with what I have in hand here. Oh dear, oh dear. Like, we can win the game next turn, but our opponent does get to play all of their spells for free. Wow. How bad is it? Tell me you don't have it. I guess that explains why I didn't take the show and tell, because they basically win if we cast show and tell. This should be okay for us post-board, once we know what we're playing around, because we have this Mind Over Matter combo where we don't have to show and tell anything in. But they may or may not have a reanimation package. Alright, I'm going to scoop that one up, and we're going to go to the sideboard. Now, they probably have Psychic Frog as a pivot. Dismember doesn't kill Frog, it doesn't kill anything. It's a bit of an awkward one. I would like to have some Flusterstorms. I don't think we want Grafdigger's Cage. I don't think we want the Carpets. I don't think we want the Truth. Maybe we want the Carpets. Carpets better than... I think Carpets are better than Chrome Moxes here. Let's try that. And then, where are the Flusters coming in? I guess we take out some other little bits here and there. We take out a Show and Tell and an Omniscience, since we're going to be more about this Mind Over Matter life. Unless we can just Omniscience and do the goods. But this hand doesn't have... I don't really want to be playing a show and tell hand. What a farce. Am I going to 4 cards? Surely not going to 4 cards. This is a ridiculous keep. What would we keep here? Probably bin off the Omnisciences. Or we can keep an Omniscience in case our opponent is doing a bin off one of these. So if our opponent casts a show and tell, we at least have something. Is that better than going to 4? Doesn't feel better than going to 4. But doesn't feel like going to 4 is very good either. What sort of 4s would we be looking for? Fast mana into One Ring is fine. Okay, I'm going to keep this horrible one. Let's play out some Lotus Petals. Am I going to play out a City of Traitors? I don't think I am. I think I'm going to hold this. I don't believe our opponent's running Wastelands, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. I'm just going to get Thoughtseize. Boom. Right in our chops. So I can take our Omniscience, and that pays away for their own Omniscience shenanigans. Force of Will. I'm not upset to see that one. I'm still not playing out the City of Traitors. This is definitely not going as well as the last time I played this deck. There's a ponder from our opponents. We might have to bin off our Mind Over Matter to the Force of Will so that we don't lose. But our opponent is not going to show and tell unless they get to show and tell Emrakul. No second land. Means our opponent's hand is absolutely stacked. I don't feel I'm winning this one. Alright, this is why we held the City of Traitors, so that we could play another land out. Opponent is brainstorming with fetch lands. That's not a thing we get to do with the way our deck is configured. And a ponder. So our opponent's not ready to try and go off yet. We can hardcast a Force of Will if we play the City of Traitors out. Do I want to hardcast a Force of Will or not? Thoughtseize. Well, I guess we're going to say goodbye to our Force of Will. They're just going to... Oh no, it's the Atraxa. Okay, so they're not ready to do a really scary one. We have to fight here. Would I rather give up 2 Lotus Petals? I think I would rather give up 2 Lotus Petals. So I hit it. This way we at least get the Mind Over Matter in if they do counter spell back. Do they have the goods? Okay, so we don't get attacked by this Emrakul at least. But we have to discard a card every turn. So how we get out of that one is a mystery to me. Because we don't have the mana. Or is this Cunning Wish? Oh dear. It just has it all. Trick Bind. Trick Bind costs 2. I guess they're saving up for next turn. So the exact text of Trick Bind. Can't be activated again this turn. If we cast a Veil of Summer, What are we up to? So if we do this, our opponent Trick Binds. If we cast Veil of Summer, is our opponent going to respond? Probably not. Yeah, I think we're done. All right, a real slaughtering there at the end. And unfortunately, despite splitting all the games apart from the last round, we could not put on more than one victory. All right, let's talk about the deck. Last time we played this, we did very well with the deck. And we absolutely smashed people. But we had a few awkward ones, like people putting in a Vexing Bauble off of our Show and Tell. And we had a little bit of trouble with mana. Maybe I was a bit too angsty about trying to board out these Lorien Revealed. Maybe we're supposed to just trim on like the Omniscience and just to go down to 3 copies of that and work around it that way. That's possibly another option. But it does feel like your wiggle room of what to sideboard is very, very slim here. And we certainly tried to do the thing a bunch of times and we got caught out a bunch of times. So like Show and Telling, like I said, with the Vexing Bauble, or Show and Telling and our opponent putting in an Omniscience. That was devastating too. So yeah, it's going to be a tough time, I think, playing this deck, because there's more tools available now than there were last time to try and hem down on what we're trying to do, like with the Vexing Bauble. And, you know, even the Carnforge deck can outrace what we're doing sometimes anyway. Now, if we were to be playing like a more traditional Sneak and Show list that has Blood Moons as options, they feel very good in the meta right now against your Cloud Posts and your Eldrazi's and things like that. So maybe that is a better direction to take this one. And I did feel the loss of not having cantrips, whereas last time I played this, we kind of just rolled over everyone. And that's not always going to be the case. And now we're sort of seeing the other end of the spectrum where, okay, we don't have our stuff going on. How are we going to get there? Okay, we can't get there because we don't have any way of digging to it. And that did feel a bit awkward too. Sometimes not having enough mana to cast the One Ring was another issue. I wouldn't mind seeing some more lands in this deck potentially. You know, possibly over some Lorien Revealed. Like, I understand that Lorien Revealed are good and we can go find some more land, but just having the land right there and then might be slightly more useful. Yeah, a bit of a downer after I played this last time. I really had an absolute blast. But I must admit, the Mind Over Matter combo is really fun. I played this because a bunch of people in the the Sneak and Show Discord, they pinged me like, oh, well, are you going to play this Mind Over Matter deck again? I was like, I did have a really good time, so why not? And today we did not have quite such a good time. I think maybe I could have sideboarded a little bit differently, but we did just get jammed up by a bunch of stuff today, and things kind of went the wrong way in Game 3, basically, in a number of occasions. And, you know, that's Magic the Gathering. Sometimes it breaks you, sometimes it doesn't. You can still learn stuff from it, though. Maybe we could be sideboarding differently, keeping our Lorien Revealeds in. Maybe we could be playing more lands in our deck, that sort of thing. All right, I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And with that, goodbye.
If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.